Every day at exactly 8 a.m., a man in a crisp grey suit walked through the glass doors of a quiet corner cafe. He never looked at the menu. He never ordered anything different. Just a black coffee and a seat at table 6, the one by the window. To the staff, he was just another regular. But there was something different about him. He never pulled out a laptop. He never made phone calls. He just sat there, watching her. Her name was Emily. Young, hardworking, and always moving. She'd been working double shifts ever since her mom got sick. Most customers barely noticed her beyond their order. But this man, he noticed everything. The way she wiped down the tables twice, even when no one asked her to. The way she remembered people's names, their allergies, even their kids' birthdays. The way she never complained, even when the line wrapped out the door. Emily treated every cup of coffee like it mattered, like every detail was important. At first, she thought he was just another grumpy customer who liked his routines. He never smiled, barely spoke, just gave a quiet nod when she refilled his coffee. But he was always there, rain or shine, day after day, sitting, watching. The other waiters joked about it. "Looks like you've got a secret admirer," they'd tease. But Emily just laughed it off. She didn't have time for daydreams. Rent was due. Her mom's prescriptions weren't cheap. And besides, what would a man like that want with someone like her? But something didn't add up. One morning she came in early and caught a glimpse of him getting out of a black car, the kind with a driver. Later that week, a customer whispered to her, "Do you know who that is?" She shook her head. "That's Richard Langston, the Richard Langston, tech billionaire, owns half of downtown." Emily's heart skipped. What on earth would a billionaire be doing sitting at a tiny cafe like this, watching her? The next day, he did something he'd never done before. He asked for a menu, and then he asked for her by name. Emily didn't know it yet, but that one small moment, a menu and her name, would change the entire course of her life. Because what Richard had been watching all this time wasn't just how she worked. He had a plan. A plan that would shake everything she thought she knew about who she was and what she was capable of. But before she found out, he made her an offer. One that would leave her completely speechless. Emily stood frozen, holding the menu in one hand, unsure if she'd heard him right. "Can I speak with you for a moment?" Richard asked, his voice calm but firm. The cafe buzzed around them with the usual clinking of cups and quiet conversation. But in that moment, everything seemed to slow down. Emily glanced toward her manager, who gave a small nod. She wiped her hands on her apron and cautiously approached the man she now knew was a billionaire. He gestured to the seat across from him. "Please," he said. She sat down, still trying to act normal, though her heart was thudding in her chest. "I've been coming here for the past 3 months," he began. "Not because of the coffee, not even because of the food." He paused, studying her expression. "I came here for you." Emily blinked. "For me?" "Yes," he said. "You see, I've been looking for someone. Not a business partner, not an assistant, someone real. Someone who works hard, doesn't cut corners, and actually cares. You have no idea how rare that is." Emily didn't know what to say. It sounded like something out of a movie. Was he serious? Was this some kind of weird test? "I started with nothing," Richard continued, his tone shifting slightly. "Most people only know me now, the private jets, the headlines. But I remember scraping by. I remember what it's like to hustle for every dollar." His words caught her off guard. She'd expected a pitch or a compliment, not this, not something that felt honest. He pulled out a small notebook from his coat pocket, slid it across the table. Inside is a proposal, one that could take your life in a very different direction, but you'll have to decide for yourself if it's worth the risk. Emily didn't open it. She just stared at it, confused, a little overwhelmed. "Why me?" "Because you didn't break," he said simply. "You stayed kind. You stayed strong. And because I think you're capable of more than this cafe will ever let you be." Before she could ask more, He stood up and placed $100 bill on the table. "Take your time," he said. "I'll be back tomorrow. Same table." And with that, he walked out. Emily sat there, stunned, the notebook untouched. Her co-workers stared from a distance, whispering. All she could think about was what could possibly be inside those pages, and what would happen if she said yes. Or worse, what would happen if she said no? That night, Emily barely slept. The small notebook sat unopened on her kitchen table, untouched, like it might explode if she so much as flipped the cover. Her mom noticed her silence during dinner but didn't push. "Rough day at work?" she asked softly. Emily nodded, but how could she explain something that didn't make sense even to her? A billionaire watching her for weeks, offering her something she couldn't even name yet. It felt surreal. The next morning, the alarm rang at 5:30 like always. Emily packed her uniform, tied her apron, and headed out into the cold morning air. But the notebook stayed behind. She wasn't ready. At work, she moved like usual, fast, focused, polite, but something was different. Every little sound felt louder, every tick of the clock sharper. And when the bell above the cafe door rang at 8 o'clock, her breath caught. He was back. Same suit, same table, same calm expression. But this time, he didn't speak, just waited. During her break, Emily sat across from him again, heart racing. "I didn't read it," she admitted. "I didn't know if I should." Richard smiled faintly. "That's okay. Most people wouldn't. Fear's a powerful thing." She frowned. "What exactly are you offering me?" He leaned in slightly. "I want to fund an idea. Yours. A business, a project, a dream. Something you care about. Something this place would never let you chase because you're too busy surviving." Emily shook her head. "But I don't have a plan. I'm not anything special." Richard looked her dead in the eyes. "That's where you're wrong. You're exactly the kind of person who should be building something. But you've been told your whole life to play it safe. You've been taught survival, not growth." Meanwhile, back in the kitchen, her co-worker Lisa had been watching. She'd seen how Richard looked at Emily, like he saw something no one else did, and jealousy started to stir. Lisa had worked there longer. She needed help too. Why Emily? That night, Emily finally opened the notebook. Inside were questions, not answers. What would you build if failure didn't matter? What problem do you understand better than anyone else? Pages filled with prompts, ideas, blank space, like an invitation. But just as she started scribbling notes, her phone buzzed. It was her manager. "We need to talk. First thing tomorrow." Her stomach sank. Something had shifted. She didn't know yet, but whispers had started spreading. About her. About the man at table 6. And not everyone was happy. Emily showed up early the next morning, the cafe still quiet except for the hum of the espresso machine and the faint clink of silverware being set. Her heart was pounding as she waited in the back, apron in hand, unsure of what was coming. Her manager, a middle-aged man named Dave who usually joked about everything, had a serious look on his face this time. He didn't waste any time. "Emily," he said, arms crossed, "we had some complaints. Some of the staff are saying you're getting special treatment, that you're involved with a customer." Her jaw dropped. "What? That's not true. I haven't done anything wrong." He sighed. "I believe you. But people are talking. And with how often that guy, Langston, comes in here and only talks to you, it's becoming a distraction." Emily's throat tightened. "So what he's saying?" "I'm saying take a day off, maybe even a few. Let things cool down." She wanted to argue, to explain that none of this was her fault, but instead she nodded, numb. As she left the cafe, the regulars watched her quietly, some whispering behind their cups. It was the first time in over a year she walked out during her shift, not because she wanted to, but because someone pushed her out. She wandered aimlessly for hours, ending up in a quiet park across the city. The notebook was in her bag, now full of messy scribbles, ideas, half-formed dreams she didn't even know she had until now. But what did it matter if she couldn't even keep her job? Just as the sun started to dip, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She hesitated, then picked up. Emily. Richard's voice came through calm but firm. I heard what happened. I'm sorry. Her breath caught. How did you know? I always know when people start pulling strings behind the scenes, he said. You've drawn attention, not all of it good. She was silent. Listen, he continued, I didn't want it to go this way, but it's time you made a choice. Her heart pounded. What choice? There's a car waiting outside your apartment. If you're ready, it'll bring you to me. Tonight, no more tests, no more watching. Emily didn't know what to say. Everything in her life had been predictable until now. Hard but steady. Suddenly, she was standing on the edge of something massive and terrifying. And across town, in the cafe kitchen, Lisa stared at her phone, reading a message she wasn't supposed to see. A forwarded email, confidential, sent from Richard Langston's office. She smiled coldly. Emily wasn't the only one with a plan in motion. Emily stood outside her apartment building, the city buzzing softly around her. Sure enough, a sleek black car was parked at the curb. The driver stepped out and opened the door without a word. She hesitated. This wasn't just a ride. It was a turning point, something that would pull her away from everything familiar. She glanced down at her phone one last time before slipping it into her pocket and stepping inside. The car pulled away smoothly, but her thoughts were anything but. What did Richard mean by no more watching? And why did it feel like more people were watching now than ever before? Across the city, Lisa walked briskly through a narrow office hallway, holding her phone tightly. The forwarded email had been brief, but enough. An internal memo confirming that Richard Langston was selecting a single candidate for a secret mentorship program, something that bypassed all traditional routes, something off the books. No media, no press. The subject line simply read, Asterisk final consideration, Emily Taurus asterisk. Lisa had always been good at getting what she wanted. She worked hard too. Years in hospitality, promotions denied, ideas ignored. And now, out of nowhere, Emily was getting handpicked by a billionaire. Lisa clenched her jaw. That memo was never supposed to reach her inbox. But now that it had, she wasn't going to waste it. Emily's car pulled into a private drive surrounded by trees and high gates. She stepped out, stunned by the estate in front of her. Glass, stone, and lights surrounded her as she walked toward the entrance. A woman greeted her, formal but kind, and led her through a quiet hallway into a room with floor-to-ceiling windows and a single long table. Richard was already there, typing on a tablet. He looked up and smiled slightly. You came. Emily nodded. I had questions. You'll get answers, he said. But first, I want you to see something. He handed her the tablet. On the screen was a detailed profile, her profile. Work history, notes about her time at the cafe, a psychological analysis, even private family records. Emily's chest tightened. Why do you have this? She asked, voice shaking. Because I'm going to invest in someone, Richard said. I need to know everything. Your strengths, your limits, your loyalty. Emily looked up, but before she could respond, the door opened again. She turned. Lisa stood there, arms crossed, a half smile on her face. Hope I'm not late, Lisa said coolly. Emily froze. Richard looked between them calmly. Good, he said. Now we can begin. The room fell silent, thick with tension. Whatever this was, it wasn't going to be simple, and someone wasn't going to walk away the same. The air in the room was heavy as Emily stared at Lisa, her mind racing. She didn't understand how she'd gotten here, from waiting tables to sitting in a billionaire's estate with a rival standing across from her. Richard's calm voice broke the silence. I invited both of you because I needed to see something, he said. Not just talent, not just work ethic, but character. Lisa raised an eyebrow. So this is a competition. Not exactly, he replied. This is about trust. Emily's hands clenched. You've been watching you for months. Now suddenly she's here, and you want us to, what? Compete. Richard stood slowly, folding his arms. This was never about competition. It was about observation. You both have different strengths, but one of you tried to go through the back door. Lisa's expression tightened. I didn't do anything illegal. No, Richard said, but you did forward a confidential internal memo. You accessed private company files without clearance. Emily turned to Lisa, stunned. You saw the memo. Lisa didn't deny it. I just wanted a fair chance. You were already picked. I was just trying to level the field. Richard nodded, and that told me everything I needed to know. He walked to a side table and picked up a folder. Emily, the Lamston Fellowship was designed for someone who could handle pressure, who could stay grounded no matter the chaos. You didn't chase the spotlight. You stayed focused, even when things turned against you. He handed her the folder. Inside were documents, an official acceptance letter, a starting fund, and a 2-year mentorship plan. Emily's eyes widened as she flipped through the pages. Lisa stepped forward. So that's it. She gets everything. Richard looked at her carefully. Lisa, you're smart, ambitious, but you let comparison cloud our judgment. I'll still offer you a position, but it won't be the same. Lisa turned and walked out without another word. Emily stood in stunned silence. I don't even know what to say. Then don't, Richard said with a smile. Just get to work. As the weight of it all settled in, Emily felt the years of struggle, the exhaustion, the doubt, start to lift. She had a future now, one built on more than tips and double shifts. But just as she turned to leave the room, Richard's voice stopped her. Oh, and one more thing. He handed her a small sealed envelope. This wasn't just about you. Your mother's medical bills, already covered, anonymously, weeks ago. Emily's breath caught. She thought this was the beginning. But it had already started long before she knew. Emily stood frozen, the envelope in her hand, barely able to breathe. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a short handwritten note. Asterisk, some people wait for luck. Others work for it. You did both. All asterisk. Tears welled up in her eyes, not just from relief, but from the quiet realization that someone had been rooting for her all along. In silence, behind the scenes, while she was fighting to stay afloat, someone had seen her worth. Not because she asked for it, not because she chased it, but because she showed up every day and gave her best, even when no one was watching, or so she thought. Over the following weeks, everything changed. She left her cafe job, but not before having every co-worker who had stood by her, even the ones who hadn't. There was no bitterness, just growth. Her mom, now free of the crushing weight of medical debt, finally started smiling again. Emily moved into a small but cozy apartment closer to the mentorship center Richard had built, where she joined other young minds working on community-based business ideas. She wasn't handed success, just a real shot at it, and she treated it the same way she had treated that cafe job, with care, with respect, and with relentless effort. As for Lisa, she did take the alternate offer. At first, she resisted out of pride, but after a while, she began to see it not as a loss, but a different path. She and Emily crossed paths from time to time, no longer competitors but women walking their own hard-earned roads. One afternoon, while working late, Emily sat in the center's quiet lounge, notebook in hand. Not the one Richard had given her, but a new one. Its first page read, Asterisk my turn to notice Summion asterisk. She smiled to herself, realizing the full circle she had come. From the girl who thought no one saw her, to the woman learning how to lift others into the light. The lesson wasn't just about ambition or mentorship, or even wealth. It was about how consistency, kindness, and integrity, especially when life feels small and thankless, can echo far beyond what we imagine. Someone is always watching. Not in judgment, but in quiet admiration. waiting to see who rises not when the lights are on, but when no one is clapping. Emily rose. And that made all the difference.